Everyone has dignity and value as a human being.
Being different can't be the reason for discrimination.
Understanding the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
International cooperation is needed to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. 5-year-old Minsu spends time with his grandfather when his parents go to work. One day, when his grandfather was doing something else, he went outside the house and got lost on the street. While Minsu was crying in panic, one lady came up to him and said, "Aren't you Minsu? Are you lost? Let me take you back home." Thanks to her, Minsu was able to come back to his home safely. Like the story of Minsu, it takes a whole village to raise a child safely and properly. I think that ensuring the rights of persons with disabilities is the same thing. The efforts of one person is just not enough. It can be achieved only when there is a cooperation of families, local communities, states, and the global society. Nowadays, an international cooperation is gaining more importance in this global era. Then, shall we learn more about the efforts of the global society that must be taken to protect the rights of persons with disabilities? In this lecture, we will learn about Article 34, Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Article 35, Reports by States Parties. Article 36, Consideration of Reports. Article 37, Cooperation between States Parties and the Committee. Article 38, Relationship of the Committee with other bodies. Article 39, Report of the Committee. And Article 40, Conference of States Parties from the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Article 34, Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
A baby girl was born without her 2 arms in one countryside village in Germany. Her parents raised her with a healthy attitude, just like any other kids. The child was soon old enough to go to school, but there was one thing her parents were worried about. At that time, persons with disabilities had to go to a separate special school. Her father started to fight against this policy, with the belief that there should be no discrimination in education to both persons with and without disabilities. Thanks to the efforts of her father, she was able to go to a school where other kids attend. And to fight the prejudice and discrimination she had experienced, she became a lawyer. This is not the end of the story. She has become a chairperson of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to enhance the rights of persons with disabilities and left remarkable achievements. She is the renowned Theresia Degener.
The story we just saw is about Theresia Degener. She is actively participating in the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities as a chairperson based on her experiences.
Whoa! I had no idea that such a person is at the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I am curious about what she does there.
All right, then let's find them out one by one. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities consisted of 12 experts considering gender, disability, and region. Members are allowed to run for a second term with a 4-year tenure. Major tasks include reviewing the reports submitted by the states parties, judging if there is a major violation, then submitting an annual report to the UN General Assembly after investigation. It also evaluates the individual report that claims that their rights were violated and conducts fact-finding.
I see. Then, how are the members of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities elected?
You can find that out in the Article 34 of the UN CRPD. Members of the committee are elected by secret ballot, and the Secretary General of the United Nations shall address a letter to the states' parties, inviting them to submit the nominations at least 4 months before the date of each election. Elected members shall be eligible for re-election once, and if a member of the committee dies or resigns, or declares that for any other cause she or he can no longer perform her or his duties, state party shall appoint another expert. And the Secretary General of the United Nations shall provide the necessary staff and facilities for the effective performance of the functions of the committee.
The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is literally a place working hard for the rights of persons with disabilities.
Yes, you are right. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is an essential organization for the implementation of the Convention. Shall we solve a quiz? Countries and candidates for members of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities are selected under the authority of the Secretary General of the United Nations. Is it correct or wrong? What is your answer? The answer is no. Candidates are submitted by states parties, and the members of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities are selected through secret ballot. Article 35. Reports by states parties.
From what I know, when a state party ratifies the UN CRPD, the state party has the legal obligations to implement the rights. But I imagine it is hard to be ensured that the rights are being fully implemented. What are the ways to ensure the implementation of the CRPD?
That's a good question. The UN CRPD is a promise to make a better world. From the Articles 35, Reports by States Parties, to Article 40, Conference of States Parties, are created to better implement the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Then, shall we first look at the Article 35, Reports by States Parties? Each state party shall submit to the committee a report on measures taken to give effect to its obligations within 2 years after the entry into force of the convention. Thereafter, subsequent reports shall be submitted at least every 4 years. It means that states parties not only have the obligations to implement the content of the convention, but also the responsibility to regularly report to the committee on how the rights ensured by the convention are being implemented.
Why do states parties have to regularly make and submit a report?
The process of preparing the report not only facilitates the implementation of the responsibilities, but also provides the opportunity to observe the current status of human rights of persons with disabilities within the country under the purpose of establishing and carrying out policies domestically. And the report can be seen as an important tool that acts as an indicator telling what has been achieved and what is lacking for the improvement and protection of the human rights within a country.
So, states parties have the responsibility to implement the contents of the convention and also to submit a report on how they are being implemented, right?
Yes, reports from states parties have significance in the way that they can be used to set goals to implement the convention more efficiently. Shall we solve a quiz? From the following, which is not a correct statement about the reports by states parties in the UN CRPD? A. It is an article to implement the UN CRPD. B. States parties submit the report only when they have major issues. And C. The status of the improvement of human rights can be observed through the report. What is your answer? The answer is B. States parties submit the report only when they have major issues. States parties shall submit the first report within 2 years after the entry into force of the convention after ratification, and shall regularly submit subsequent reports at least every 4 years. Article 36. Consideration of reports.
Now I understand why reports are needed. Then, what is the process of consideration of report after it is submitted?
Regarding the consideration, it is stipulated in the Article 36, Consideration of Reports on the UN CRPD. The committee shall consider each report and forward suggestions and general recommendations on the report to the state party concerned. Additionally, states parties shall make the suggestions and general recommendations relating to reports easily available to the public in their own countries. There are a total of 7 steps for the consideration of reports. First of all, it would start by submitting the reports by states parties. The report shall be submitted to the Secretary General of the UN after the translation into official language of the UN. Then the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities make the consideration of reports. After it is submitted, the committee forwards the list of issues to the state party concerned. The list of issues stated here means a questionnaire that is needed to evaluate the omitted contents and the implementation of the convention from the report by the state party. It is sent to the state party concerned before the report is tried. Next, state party which has received the list of issues shall submit a written response for the questions in the list of issues. A written response supplements the report, and it is required when there is a big time gap between the date of submission and the date of consideration. The next step is obtaining information for the consideration of report. The committee can obtain information through other organizations regarding the implementation other than reports. Afterwards, the consideration of the reports by the state party is carried out. Representative of the state party answers questions from the members and provides further information during the consideration of the report by the state party. When the consideration is over, the committee makes a final conclusion, and the state party shall implement the final conclusion and carry out the follow-up measures. If a report is not submitted, the committee uses a review process that reviews the status of human rights of state party concerned autonomously. A review process takes place when a country does not submit a report. Thus, the final conclusion is adopted based on information obtained from related civil organizations and UN organizations. Shall we solve a quiz? The process of consideration of report follows the following order: submitting reports by states parties, sending list of issues, corresponding to list of issues in written form, obtaining information for the consideration of report, consideration of the reports by states parties, blank, implementing final conclusion. What is the correct answer for the blank? A. Making initial conclusion. B. Making final conclusion. What is the correct answer for the blank? This is pretty easy, right? What is your answer? Yes, the answer is B. Making final conclusion. Article 37. Cooperation between states parties and the committee. Article 38. Relationship of the committee with other bodies.
You've mentioned that the interactive cooperation is important to ensure the rights of persons with disabilities, right? I want to know more about what kind of cooperation is being carried out between states parties and the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
For the smooth cooperation between states parties and the committee, the Article 37 of the UN CRPD was created. When we take a look at the article, states parties shall cooperate with the committee and assist its members in the fulfillment of their mandate. Additionally, the committee shall consider ways and means of enhancing national capacities, including through international cooperation. States parties shall actively accept requests of information or other requests by the Committee, and the Committee shall give due consideration to ways and means for the implementation of the present Convention.
I understand. Then, is the Committee cooperating with other organizations as well to ensure the fulfillment of the Convention?
Of course it is. Human rights of persons with disabilities is not only ensured by the present Convention, but by the other human rights treaties as well. Therefore, a cooperation with other organizations is essential for the fulfillment of the Convention. It is currently cooperating with Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, other UN organizations, and monitoring body of the Convention. A Special Rapporteur is responsible for the issues related to the rights of persons with disabilities, who is appointed by the Commission for Social Development under the UN Economic and Social Council. The Special Rapporteur has the responsibility to report the status of human rights of persons with disabilities to the Commission for Social Development. For this, they personally visit the country to meet with the officials on the human rights of persons with disabilities, or collect data evaluating various conditions, and confirms whether the discrimination on persons with disabilities is actually being prohibited. And there are many cases to cooperate with other UN organizations. There are various UN organizations related to disabilities. There are the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, for Disability and Human Rights, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, for Disability and Education, International Labour Organization, ILO, for Disability and Labor, World Health Organization, WHO, for Disability and Health, World Bank, UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCOP, etc., for Disability and Development. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities collects information through collaboration with various UN organizations and requests for the submission of related information and documents as needed. Lastly, the Committee is assisting the fulfillment of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities by cooperating with the monitoring body of the Convention.
So there are many cases of cooperation between various organizations to ensure the rights of persons with disabilities.
Yes, ensuring the rights of persons with disabilities can be achieved when working with various organizations and people. Article 39. Report of the Committee. Article 40. Conference of States Parties.
I now understand the various efforts that are currently being carried out by the global society. Aside from this, I am also curious about what measures are being taken to sustainably ensure the rights of persons with disabilities.
Article 39. Report of the Committee and Article 40, Conference of States Parties, are articles created to sustainably ensure the rights of persons with disabilities. First, let's take a look at the content of the Article 39. The Committee shall report on its activities to the General Assembly and to the Economic and Social Council every 2 years. It can include reports on individual level aside from the reports by states parties. And in the Article 40, Conference of States Parties, states parties shall hold a regular conference of states parties for the fulfillment of the Convention, and the Secretary-General shall convene the Conference of States Parties within 6 months after the entry into force of the Convention. The Conference of States Parties shall be convened regularly to elect the members for the rights of persons with disabilities and to discuss matters regarding the fulfillment of the Convention.
So not only the states parties, but also the Committee has to submit a report regularly?
That's right. Also, don't forget that holding the Conference of States Parties to discuss on the ways to fulfill the convention, etc., is part of the efforts to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. Shall we solve a quiz? What is not a correct statement about the measures to fulfill the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? A. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities cooperates with states parties and special rapporteur on the rights of persons with disabilities, other UN organizations, and the monitoring body of the Convention, etc. B. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities shall report their activities. C. The Conference of States Parties for the enhancement of the rights of persons with disabilities is not required. What is your answer? The answer is number C. The Conference of States Parties for the enhancement of the rights of persons with disabilities is not required. The Conference of States Parties for the enhancement of rights for persons with disabilities is held regularly. International cooperation to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. Let's summarize what we have learned. Article 34, Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The members of the committee, consisting of 12 experts whose competence and experience have been recognized in the field covered by the present convention, investigate and evaluate whether the convention is being well performed. Article 35, Reports by States Parties. Each state party shall submit to the committee through the Secretary General of the United Nations a comprehensive report on measures taken to give effect to its obligations under the present convention and on the progress made in that regard within 2 years after the entry into force of the present convention for the state party concerned. Article 36. Consideration of reports. The committee shall consider each report, make suggestions and general recommendations on the report as it may consider appropriate, and forward these to the state party concerned. If a state party is significantly overdue in the submission of a report, the committee may notify the state party concerned of the need to examine the implementation of the present convention in that state party, on the basis of reliable information available to the committee. Article 37. Cooperation between states parties and the committee. States parties shall cooperate with the committee and assist its members in the fulfillment of their mandate. Article 38. Relationship of the committee with other bodies. In order to foster the effective implementation of the present convention and to encourage international cooperation in the field covered by the present convention, the committee shall cooperate with specialized agencies and other UN organizations. Article 39. Report of the committee. The committee shall report every 2 years to the General Assembly and to the Economic and Social Council on its activities. Article 40. Conference of States Parties. The states parties shall meet regularly in a conference of states parties in order to consider any matter with regard to the implementation of the present convention.